Trial and error. Do you reckon I should turn the dryer on and check if they're working? Or we'll just go for it? How is everybody today? Happy Tuesday. We've got the internet working, Facebook's working again. We didn't think we'd actually get to do this today, so this is great. And I thought to celebrate, I would recreate a look today that we did a while ago, and it actually, everyone was like really into it. It was kind of a quick, easy way to create a heavily layered shag look. So I've got my client back here again. This is Charlotte, and Charlotte would like the same sort of vibe, but shorter. So I thought it would be a good chance to go through utilizing a similar technique, but taking that shorter and then seeing what the outcome is. So yeah, we're all here to learn and grow and develop. And I thought rather than do something that even I've done before, I'm gonna use the same techniques, but we're going to take it tighter. Yeah, so if this is the first time you've joined us, hi, I'm Lyndall Salmon and welcome to my lounge room. I'm in Melbourne and I'm in lockdown, and I'm here on behalf of Bieber Academy just to shed some love and light and education out there for the hair world, for everyone that's in lockdown. Yeah, so just to continue growing and developing together. So yeah, I'll show you these section patterns. This is what we're working with today. So I've kind of divided this head up into sort of three chunks: the back, the top, and the front. Yeah, you can see through here. Now this beautiful color that you can see as well was created by Ross from Weller. So I don't know, Ross, if you're in the room yet, but yeah, hopefully Ross joins a little bit later, and he can let us know what this incredible color is, because once we start drying it, you'll see all these beautiful tones start developing. So that's really exciting as well. So yeah, I thought that I would do a really layered sort of shagged vibe haircut because I think it's really trending. And what I also think is that when we get out of lockdown, which isn't that far away, we're going to have a lot of clients that have grown their hair quite long, like me, and they want to keep their length, but they're looking for something new. They want something exciting. They've been stuck in their homes. They want something fresh. So I think that's where layering can come into it. You know, fringing, something really cool happening around the face. I think that's where it's going to be for reinvigorating our clients. Okay. So what we will do is we're going to start the haircut through the back. Now, this particular haircut, if your client wants a really strong, solid line through the bottom, this probably isn't the haircut for them, because this particular haircut is really layered. And when something is really layered, you take away the strength from the perimeter of the haircut. So if someone is very like hardcore about wanting a thick pony, don't go down this road. We'll do another haircut another day for that person, okay? But this is for a client that wants loads of layers, really kind of shaggy, stringy length as well. So we won't actually be cutting the baseline, okay? So because once you put a line in the bottom, you can never really get rid of it. So we're going to be just going and jumping straight into our internal. So we're going to do the back, then we're going to jump over this, and then we're going to do the fringe, and then we will come and create this center, okay? So I'm pretty keen always to get here and to teach everyone. So I may have sectioned this up like hours ago. So I'm just going to dampen it down a little bit, because you want to make sure that you're always cutting evenly damp hair. Okay, so make sure as well when you're spraying that water, it's not about like wetting the hair, it's an even dampness. So giving it an all over spritz so that you can easily control that hair. Okay. Again, if this is the first time you've joined us as well, yeah, we're on Facebook. So we've got a chat feed as well. And I have a very incredibly handsome and talented videographer on the other side of this that can read out questions. So if there's something that I have I've spoken about or something that I've skipped over, please pop it in the chat room. And we've also got Alex in the room, who is an administrator at Bieber, so she can answer questions about that as well. But yeah, this is like a free, easy space. All comments and questions are welcome. Okay. All right. So let's get started. We're going to start through the back. It's all about moving my client to try and help my own body. So I'm just going to tilt this head slightly forward, because that's going to make it easier for me. And if something's easy, I'm going to do it really well. if something's really difficult and hard, I'm going to struggle. So I think cutting hair should be really nice and easy and natural. So we're going to take out our first section through the center. Okay, so we'll part that through. So I've got my YS part comb, so I can section down with my half tooth for precision, and then I can easily flick just to get that out of the way. Okay, and then we're going to start through this center section. So we'll pick this up, and we're going to come through here. We'll pick up the whole section, yeah, and we're going to bring this up through here. Okay, and we are going to blunt cut. So even though our client, the end result, they want this to be really shattered, loose, disheveled, all of those kind of words, you can still create that look using a blunt technique. Okay, so this is that first guide, so make sure that you're really happy with it. Just pick it up a couple of times, run over it, make sure it's exactly where you want it, drop it and have a look at it. Okay, because it tells a story of what everything else is going to sit like. Now I think that that's got a nice shape. We're ticking all the boxes. We're keeping that length, so we're fulfilling the requirements of the client. That's really critical. Do you know what I mean? You have to listen to key things that your clients will tell you when they come in. And if someone's like, I really love my length, but I want it to be super layered and choppy, then I feel like I've fulfilled that, and that's really important. And yeah, I like this jump that we've got, and you can see all of these great layers jumping out through here. Okay, so what we're going to do is take vertical sections, okay, and I'm going to over direct each section back to the center. So what this is going to do, whenever you over direct something, you keep length and weight, okay? So by over directing everything back to the center, I'm actually creating a haircut that has loads of width. And I think for these kind of shaggy haircuts, that's kind of where it's at. It's like fat through here. It's not big up top. It's more like this fullness out through the side. Yeah, because that's the way that fringe kind of comes out too. So by using over direction, you're keeping length and weight. Okay. So let's over direct. So what you're doing when you're over directing as well is you're bringing everything to that same stationary guide. So it's actually really, really simple. And each time you bring it over and cut it, you increase the size of your guide. So it's so clear. If your guide is not very clear, then what I suspect has happened is that you're not over directing it to the same spot. Yeah, if you pick that hair up and you look and it's not very clear, then you need to maybe readjust yourself because you've over directed it further than what you have previously before. Okay, bring this all over. Okay. Now I like to stand on this side whilst I'm cutting this, and the reason is so that I'm cutting from my internal shape out. I find that quite freeing, especially if a client says to me, I want to keep the length, because my elbow is my length. And if I want to keep more length, I can just lift that up and it releases the length from the perimeter of the hair. So that's that one side done in through there. So it's more layered internally, keeping that length. Now, to do this other side, come back to the center, centralize yourself, take this out of the way. Okay, and we're going to repeat the same thing. So vertical sections, but instead of combing this way to over direct to the center, I'm going to comb this way to over direct to the center. So we will stand here. Okay, and I want to comb from my new section, so that's that way. And I pick that up and I can clearly see the guide. Can you guys see that through there? So that's how clear that should be. Now, when you're over directing, it can be a little bit tricky. So things like mirrors are like really great tools to help you keep that same level of over direction. I unfortunately do not have that luxury right now. So hopefully we're kind of over directing it to the same spot. But like I said before, one of the best ways to tell you're over directing it to the right spot is a really, really clear guideline that you work to. Okay, So pick that up. So, I mean, the variations on this haircut as well, if you had a client that had curlier hair, you might want to be point cutting rather than blunt cutting, because that just adds a little bit more flexibility for that curl. Now, curls can be quite kind of random and unruly, so that's kind of allowing for that, the organic nature of a curl when you're point cutting. Okay, so there's that side completed. Now, what I want to do is check my balance. That's the first kind of way that I'd like to check something like this. So grabbing two pieces, bringing it up to the same elevation and bringing it to the center and checking that balance. Okay. Now, I tell you what, have a look. Look, I'm a very like open and honest person, right? So I'm going to show you what I've done. So I mean, this is really the only way that all of us are going to improve, is to be really honest with yourself. So if I've done something as a demo and I think that it's not even, I'll call myself out because I've got to fix it. Do you know what I mean? So I pick this up to the same elevation, and can you see that this is just a little bit longer through this side, and it's here as well, just a little bit. And it's there just a little bit. So what I've done as I've brought this over is I've slightly extended it further than the center. It's no big deal. I will just go back. Okay, and this is why we cross-check. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing it. You're not a robot, okay? We don't have little lasers as fingers. We have scissors and a comb. So you can see it there. See that? So I pushed that over there and it wasn't there. So I'll just come back and just take that little bit. And this is what we talk about, like I talk about like purposeful practice. Every time I do a haircut, I try and do it better than how I did it last time. I mean, otherwise, what am I doing? I want to be like really good at cutting hair, so I have to keep practicing. Okay, there's that little bit there. And last section, just that little bit. Work to that knuckle, pick it up again. Make sure you're not cutting right into the corners of your fingers. You'll make your teachers feel sick. Okay, there we go. So now that will even out that balance. Let's double check. Yes, okay. That's it. All right, that's called transparency. And I think that your clients would appreciate that. You know what I mean? Cool. So I can see already that we've got this great bevel happening in through here. Our shape as well gets slightly heavier through the outside, and we've kept all the length. So I'm happy with that. What I'm going to do is move now into this front section, okay? And the reason I want to move into the front section is because this shape that we created through the back and the shape that we're going to create through the front is going to be shorter than the shape we create through the top, okay? So once I do this, it'll be harder for me to get back in under there. So I want to create this, and then last we're going to drop in with a longer layer through the top. Okay, so I'm just going to grab that water spray again. Thank you, Bradley. And we'll spritz this back down. Okay, so it's nice evenly damp in through there. Hi, Danny. How you going? Okay, so we'll take out that internal section. We'll pick this up. Okay, so let's assess this through here. We'll grab this. I want to cut parallel to the head shape, so I'm not building any weight anywhere. So let's lift this up and we'll cut that first section and see where that's sitting, because that's going to be the shortest point of the internal part of our fringe. So I'm happy with where that's sitting. You can see it's kind of just sitting that longest point on the nose there. So that will sort of separate. So it'll be great to see how a shorter version looks. So what I will do, the same thing that I did through the back, I'm going to be taking vertical sections and I'm going to over direct everything back to this guide. Okay, so what that will do is increase in length throughout the outside, create some great face framing and just a really cool kick on a fringe. And we are blunt cutting, but because we're taking really nice fine sections, you know, we're not going to be creating any heavy marks or anything. And you're going to see that, you know, what creates layers in my mind, I mean, what creates, you know, the removal of weight is layering. So if I've layered hair in the correct way, then I don't need to be spending a whole lot of time with my thinning scissors removing weight, because in my mind, layers remove weight. Yeah. Okay, keep going through here. Bring all this up. Just going to bring all of that up through here. Have we got Ross in the room? Has he let us know about this beautiful color yet? We'll have to hassle him later. Okay, so that's that one side done. Everything up to the center. So we can release that and we can see what we've done is sort of created a sweeping fringe and it's connecting into a little bit of shape around the face. So we will take out that center section, we'll remove this out of the way, and we're going to repeat the same thing through this opposite side. So it's that vertical section and we're bringing that up and blunt cutting in through there. Okay, so what I'll do a couple of sections and then I'll check my balance rather than doing the whole side and then sort of realizing, you know, maybe I was standing a little too far away, maybe I didn't over direct it in the exact same spot. So I'll stand here, bring this up and just double check that. And I think we're good there. So take that out of the way again and keep working, bringing everything up. So you can see it's quite a like effective haircut. It's quick, it's to the point, and yeah, it's using that knowledge of over direction to keep length and to keep weight. And I think fringing and stuff like that is going to be, it's going to be big. Clients are going to want to feel like they are getting a change. So I think being really confident with approaching these kind of shapes will be of benefit when we get out of lockdown. In terms of the colors that we've got as well, I think that kind of always inspires my choice of shape. Like we've got these, we do have a lot of different tones in this head. So I don't want to go through and create a whole lot of really different little shapes, little kind of detailed things through here. I want it to be like big, bold, big sections. And I think that will translate with the color, because there is a lot happening with the color. So as soon as I see something that has got more than one or two tones, I think big sections, big efficient sections. Yeah. Okay, so let's check that. I'll just jump in front of what I'm going to do here and just check my balance in through here, lifting that up.
Kobe Lee asks, would this fringe cutting technique be suitable for curly hair?
Yeah, Kobe has just asked if this fringe technique would work on curly hair. And absolutely, Kobe, this is a great technique for curly hair. I actually did my own fringe like this. So like it actually works because it takes some of the weight out. And when you are layering curly hair, it's kind of the opposite. So when you layer curly hair, it doesn't necessarily take the weight away and flatten it. What it does is activate it, because you're like taking like the lid off something and it all starts kind of jumping out and springing out. So it's a good way to get like body and fullness around the front of the face? Yeah, good question. Okay, so there's that shape around the front, in through here. So now what we will do is we're going to jump up into this top section, okay? So if this was incredibly thick hair, and I was going to sort of straighten it, what you could do if you had time, which no one is going to when we get out of lockdown, is you could dry the fringe and you could dry underneath here right now, so that if you thought that you did need to do some texturizing so that you're able to get into those key zones, you could do that now and then cut the top afterwards. But for myself, I do like to cut all of the hair and then blow dry it all globally, because I think the reality is in a salon, you don't have a lot of time. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's also great to be sort of sharing the work within the salon. So rather than me doing everything myself, if I'm in a salon, I'd get like my apprentice to dry and to blow dry for me, so they're getting the practice, and everyone is kind of growing and developing from that, rather than me doing everything myself. I'm not really that sort of operator. I would love to see the other people in the salon, like everyone's in on the client and it's the salon's client rather than your personal client. But that's just my salon view life of how, I obviously also don't work in a salon. So all right, let's take out this center. We're going to do the exact same thing. It's a vertical section straight through the top. Let's pick this up and have a look. So we want it to be disconnected, okay? So whenever anyone hears something to be disconnected, it sounds really scary, but it's really not. All disconnected is two techniques, two sections that don't meet by means of a guideline. That's all disconnection is, right? But there's two types of disconnection. There's obvious disconnection and there's hidden disconnection. Now, this is a hidden disconnection. This is a great disconnection for salon life. People want they don't really want to all have like shaved off really crazy haircuts. And sometimes if you go and do that to everyone, you lose your clients, because then they won't get a haircut for like 6 months because they're trying to grow it out. So this is a really good disconnection for that. So it's salon friendly. It's like disconnected by like an inch and a half. So there's this length here. That's from the fringe. And there's that length there. That's from the back. So I need to come in and make it longer. Okay. So I have to have this, I have to know where that is so I can make smart choices. Okay, so I'm going to pick that up and that's where we're going to go.
There's a map from, says hello from Bangkok, Thailand.
Hello. Got lots of friends in Bangkok. It's actually been a really nice time to connect with people from all around the world, being online. Okay, and we're going to keep this connecting all the way through. Okay. Nice and straight. Okay. So before you like burn through the whole section, check it. Make sure it looks good. You know what I mean? Check that the shape is there. And I think you can see how when that sits down, you absolutely cannot see any kind of disconnection, yeah? But you've got this great, this top is going to sit over the top of the underneath as well. So it's actually going to be super salon friendly and super layered, which, remember at the start, that's what our client wanted. They wanted something that was really heavily layered. So we're ticking the box. So what I'm going to do is repeat the same process. So it's a vertical section. And where are those sections going to be over directed to? The center, okay? So let's do that. Big sections, keep them nice and clean, and over direct everything up to the middle.
Adam, I was just asked a question. I think you just answered it. Cutting the top of this disconnection square.
Yes, Adam, it's disconnected. So, and like I said, a good salon friendly amount to disconnect something is like between 1 to 2 inches. I think if you go disconnecting beyond that, sometimes it's like flapping in the breeze and it's like, oh, did they forget to cut that piece of that person's hair? So I think, if you are just starting off delving into disconnection, stay within that parameter, So, but it doesn't have to be scary. The thing is, it's two techniques that don't meet by means of a guideline, but the second part of the definition, this is what people forget, but still visually looks harmonious. Yeah? So that's the key. It still visually has to balance. Something can be completely asymmetrical and disconnected, but it still has balance. Okay? So you got to look for the balance. Okay, if I had a mirror, I would be turning my client this way right now. I would be using that mirror to check my section to make sure it was nice and clean. Don't have a mirror, so I'm hoping that tension and everything is really clean on that section. That's what I'm looking for. I'm so glad Adam's watching. Okay, and keep going. So these vertical sections and everything up to the center. Okay. So I'm thinking today we will dry this just quite loosely. We'll wrap dry with a paddle so we can really see the shapes that we've created. Maybe we can put a couple of little flicks in it with the paddle brush at the end, but predominantly just trying to dry it with that flat brush so I can see the shape that we have created. Bringing all of this up. Okay, and we're nearly done. I think one more section and then I can move into that opposite side. So I'm just going to grab all this hair and anything that fits up into the top. There we go. So you can see how it was easier to do the bottom and the front section, and then you can drop in with that longer one over the top. For me, that seems like an easier way to be working. Okay, so I'm ready to move into the opposite side. We've got that shape there. It's like super layered in through there. Really shaggy, but we've got this fringe that's cut and over directed to the center, so that's already kicking out there. We've got a connection down into the side here as well. So I'm just going to move this way so I can over direct this side.
Berna Garland asks, do you have a name for this cut?
Hi, Berna. I don't know, Berna. What should we call the haircut? Let's come up with a name. I sort of, we do try not to use names for haircuts because I think that's when it dates. Once you name something, you're kind of like cementing it in 2021. But yeah, let's make up a name. Fred. The Fred. I like it, Alex. It's good. The Fred. I like that. Bob and Fred. Okay. So keep going. This particular haircut as well would look great. Say if you had a guy that came into the salon or the barbershop that had longer hair as well, what you could do is just eliminate this fringe section. So you could do the section under the occipital and then go straight into this section and do this as one hole through the top. And that would actually be a really cool, like effortless, really shaggy haircut. If you had someone with longer hair as well, like a guy that came in and wanted something different. Because these are techniques. Do you know what I mean? Techniques you can you can use in any way on any type of person, any people. You just have to be really strong in your understanding of techniques, of what they do, which is again why I sort of, once you name a haircut, you kind of maybe limit its use. Okay, last section, bringing all this up. So I'm standing on the same side, you'll notice, to cut this, but just changing my combing position. So I comb from my new section, everything up. Yeah, everything up. Up through there. Cool, and that's it. So check your balance again. So I'm going to grab 2 bits. I'm going to bring them to the center. So you would use your mirror, which I don't have a mirror, so you will be my mirror. You grab it, you pick it up, and you bring it to the center. And sometimes even when you're kind of learning, or you're doing something that you're not 100% sure it's going to work out, sometimes even this moment when you're looking at the client and you're kind of going like this and you're showing them and you're like, yeah, look, it's even, woo, and it kind of breaks down that communication breakdown that sometimes you can have with clients as well, especially when you're nervous. You kind of don't look at them in the mirror. So yeah, the best advice is to just use that mirror as a tool for balance. Use that mirror as a tool for like breaking down the weirdness between you and your client as well, which is a real thing when you're learning, because you don't want to make eye contact with them because you feel like they'll be able to see through you. Like, I remember that feeling. But yeah, you try and use that mirror as much as possible, okay? All right. So here's our shape. So if you can see how this client had curly hair, you could easily just put some product through, scrunch it, and then just be like, see you later. It's already ticking all of these shape boxes for me. Like this is really where I want to be before I pick up a blow dry tool, or you know what I mean? Like, you want to have a strong shape. And if I'm not confident, then give it another crack. Do you know what I mean? Take it a bit shorter in some spots. Hopefully you don't need to stick it back on because that's really expensive. But yeah, I'm happy with how this is sitting. Yeah, both from a profile as well. Yeah. So I'm really glad our client wanted to go a bit shorter. So I'm going to prep it with some products, starting with a leave-in treatment spray, just to rehydrate, especially because we've had some color. It's going to help add a little bit more shine through there. And then I'll comb that through just to evenly disperse that. Okay. And then maybe I'll put a bit of body crafter in, just to help with a little bit of texture. Okay, spritz that through. And again, I'm a bit of a broken record. I'm going to comb that through. It's just a really good practice to get into, to comb the products through. Otherwise, you really can't guarantee that they're evenly dispersed. Yep. It's also like, it's just a nice part of the service for the client, Really, I mean, they really know you care, okay? All right, so what we'll do is pick up our dryer, and then we'll really find out if these AirPods are working. I'm going to start with no nozzle, okay? So let's lower this down. No nozzle is going to increase my surface area, so that's good. That means it's going to be faster. I mean, I don't need directional heat at this stage. I don't need like to stretch anything. So when there's no nozzle on there, I'm increasing my surface area, okay? So we turn that on. And I'm going to start using my hands and just shaking it off the root. So I use my hand as like a comb, and I'm basically what I'm doing is I'm opening up the hair with my hand to find the root. Yeah, I'm sort of finding the space and making a space so that the air can hit the root. And I want to keep my arm up at and I want to hit the hair with the air at a 45-degree angle. Yeah, that's kind of like that sweet angle that shuts the cuticle down. What? Charlotte is dope. I mean, if Charlotte comes and asks for a shorter haircut again, which, I mean, let's face it, I'm still in lockdown for a while. They may very well ask to have their haircut shorter. Okay, I'm happy with the roots. So I'm going to go through and pop my nozzle on. And I'm going to pick up my baby paddle brush and I'm going to start wrapping. Okay, so when I start wrapping, I'll start from the back. Now you don't have to use the nozzle. If this was hair that hadn't been coloured and hadn't had any chemical treatment done to it, I probably wouldn't even need to use the nozzle, but Charlotte has coloured their hair a couple of times, so I might need that nozzle just to give it a bit of extra stretch on the cuticle. Okay, so I'm still focusing on the root area, but I'm using the brush to smooth it down. You've got to start at the bottom. Wrapping forward. Swapping hands, so you've got balance. I think I was dared by Ross last time we cut this to use a round brush. I still haven't done it, Ross. Did I bring it? No. One day I'll put it. I've only got one, like this little tiny round one. Round one, funnily enough. So moving around the hair. Wrapping it from side to side. Swapping hands for balance. When you're doing a wrap dry, you don't really want to have any particular direction. You're just seeing what this haircut can do. And of course, if you are in a salon or wherever you're doing hair and you have a clientele that uses round brushes, round brush it. It would look amazing as well. I'm just not very good at it. Cool, you can see all these tones coming out now. So I'm going to swap hands and now I'm going to dry it all back. So I'm still doing those kind of mid-length sort of roots to mids. I haven't done the ends yet. Dry it all back. Got like a Rod Stewart, Ziggy Stardust vibe. So I think this Thursday we're going to do the live that we were going to do last Thursday, but we didn't get to do it. So we're going to be working on lines, doing a one length. So really taking that back to basics. So if you have anyone in your like friendship group or in your salon space that you think would benefit from sort of really getting back to those basics and working on a line, let them know that we'll be here as well on Thursday at the same time, 3:30, doing that really basic, which, you know, you say basic. For me, it's like the hardest thing ever because it's either straight or it's not. So I find that very stressful. But yeah, so if anyone knows anyone that would benefit from that, please let them know. Okay, so let's move into our mid-length to end. Okay. So you can see you've got that curtain fringe and then the shape. So I'll dry it smooth, and then what we can do is come and put some waves through it afterwards, just to kind of take it away from the 90s into the 2000s. I use my little finger a lot when I'm wrap drying. And I try, where possible, not to jam the heat onto that brush. For me, I'm always like, oh, that poor little hair strands, you know? So that's really as close as I want to get. But I can create some great sort of shapes still with that brush. I'm going to come over here. And swapping hands for those mid-length to end. So if you are like kind of new to the academy and you're new to blow drying, I would try, where possible, to practice swapping hands. I think it's a lot harder to do it once you've been hairdressing for a while or barbering for a while. So if you can, at the start, work with both your hands. Because for things like styling and stuff like that, it's super beneficial. I see, you know, people like Renya, and I've heard Renya talk about swapping hands as well for balance. Okay, nearly finished. And then we'll go and assess the texture. And then we can style. This red under here is gorgeous. It's really tomato. Yeah, you just check it's all dry. Okay. So we'll just stop there for a sec and we're going to assess texture. Okay, before we come, and then we'll style it so it doesn't look like Jennifer Aniston from Friends. Okay, trust me, trust the process. Okay, so what you will do is assess the texture. So when you're assessing the texture, what I'm doing is I have to move the hair, and I have to look at how it's moving. See if there's any bits that aren't moving as much as I would like them to. And I think maybe just through this top section, see there, as I move it, it's a little bit heavy. So what I will do is I will use a point cutting technique, which is my go-to way to texturize something. So I will pick up the hair at the same elevation that I used to cut it, using my wide teeth. Okay, pick that up, and I want to point cut directly into the ends of the hair. Okay, so using a pointing technique, I will work into the ends of this hair. Okay, and point cut through. So I find by picking that depth and working along it, I cut myself a lot less than if I'm like that constantly. Okay, so try that. So this is point cutting. This is how we definitely texturize, I'd say, I don't know, 90% of the time at Bieber Academy. That is, of course, unless we're working with curly hair, then we would be more inclined to use a twist cutting technique, which is how to sort of texturize and create more movement and remove weight on naturally curly hair. Also, if I was twist cutting on curly hair, I would do that when it was damp rather than when it's dry. Because if you start messing with that cuticle once it's dry with curly hair, you're just going to create a big fluffy mess. Pick all of this up. So for me, this part should be very minimal, very quick. Okay. If I find that I'm spending like 20 minutes, half an hour texturizing, I didn't layer it in the right spot. Yeah, the lengths of the haircut weren't correct. So I think it's really telling how long you spend texturizing that haircut, whether indeed you did the technique in the right spot. Yep. Okay, and under here, we've got that slight disconnection. So you can come underneath here and find that. Pick that up as well. If sometimes under that occipital, that's where a client might have a real pet hate thick part of their hair that irritates them in through that bulky area. So pick that up in through there. Okay, and I think that's it. See here, if I pick that up, I wouldn't want to point cut into this piece of hair there because that's not where I cut it. So I'm not going to do it evenly. Better that I pick it up here and elevate it to the same elevation so I can evenly point cut. Okay, let's just do a tiny bit on the fringe and then we will style because we have just wrap dried this. Point cut.
Kobe Lee asked, could you do this cut with a point cutting technique from the start?
Yeah, so Kobe has just asked if you could point cut this haircut, and you absolutely could, Kobe. So if your client as well only came in and they wanted this haircut, and if your client had blonde highlights all over their hair, quite maybe thick highlights, it might be safer for you to point cut that shape in, because if you blunt cut across on hair that has been highlighted in quite a thick way, when you drop that, it could look really spotty. So just be really mindful. Color does play a really strong role in how you cut hair. Yeah. So that's a really good question, Kobe. Yeah, and if your client had like ultra coarse, thick hair, or if they had naturally curly hair, yeah, you could point cut this from the start. But I think we're nearly done here. Pointing, that's the bit that really gets stuck in the carpet at home. And now I'm just going to grab this dryer. And what I'm going to do is just style the hair, okay? So you could use a brush, but for me, I'm just going to use my hand. Just put some bends through here. So all of those layers that you've got, you can flick them out by just kind of holding the end and sort of squashing the air in. And you get a really kind of more of a like a natural organic flick through. You can see just in through there. So yeah, for me, I would rather dry something more smoother and sort of wrap dry it in its natural form, so I can point cut and stuff like that, assess the texture, and then come and put some more flicks on it rather than blow drying it flick from the start. But really, that's personal opinion because everyone does it differently. Okay. So you got to hold it really loosely if you want to get that bend in there. Yeah. I mean, and you could also do it with a brush. If you wanted to do it with the paddle brush, say through here, you could definitely do that too. Depends like what kind of shape you're after through there. I think that's one of the cool things I like about being more of a precision cutter. Even when you're cutting something really shaggy like this, like I have literally cut this into this shape. So it doesn't matter even if I like have a bit of fun with my styling, I'm not going to not make it look like what the client wanted because I literally cut it into that shape. Yeah. Yeah. Can anyone think of a client right now that they're going to get into their hair when they get out of lockdown and try this on? Last time we did it, I had a couple of students who were like, maybe I should do it. I'm going to do my housemate's hair. Okay. We're nearly done. Work on this fringe a little bit. Oh, mannequin eyes freak me out. I'm gonna have nightmares. I don't know if I'll ever be the same after cutting all these mannequins. They're gonna haunt me. It's cool. So you can see the difference between the last time we cut this shape and it was longer. It was definitely had more length to be able to get that that bounce. But this is definitely more gone into that more shag realm where it's sitting like shorter and um, a bit higher in through the top because that length shorter. But the way the front's sitting works really well, and the fringe is lighter. It's definitely opened up that face a lot more from having that more heavily layered. But you can definitely see as well what I was talking about with width, with this haircut, how much width you still get out through the side because you over directed everything. I think that's one of the cool things about this shape. Okay, so what I might do, I'll start with more the roots. I'm going to go through with some Paul Frank & Co. dust. I can't believe that there is a new Faji on the market and I still don't have my hands on it. I have to fix this, Alex. Okay, so this is like a really cool hybrid wax dry product just to kind of create some height and hold, but without that nano crunch of hairspray. So we'll go through there and put that in. You can even sort of spray it and sort of put it in there and pull out those bits for your client. All right. And then I think because you don't want to have it all dry, especially when the colorist has created this beautiful color like Ross has. So I would come through and just put maybe a little bit of shine on the ends just to add, just to show off that color as well. Cool. And I actually prefer that side, the side that was done all with my hand rather than the brush, because you get like, it just looks a bit more, I don't know, disheveled and a bit more natural. Just going to stretch out this one. So yeah, that's our finished look. We'll do a quick recap. Super easy technique, really effective, like for a highly layered look that removes a lot of bulk and a lot of weight by sort of using techniques, using your layering techniques and using a little bit of what we call hidden disconnection, that really salon friendly amount of disconnection. All right, better stop. I could probably just keep doing that all day. All right, so yeah, just a quick recap. Coming through and dividing the hair into 3 sections. So you want to take out the fringe, and this varies from the last time we did it. I actually took more into that fringe section. So what that has done, it's taken more weight out of the fringe. So last time the section was more forward And so we had a heavier fringe. This one's further back, so that layering went further back into the hairline. So you can see how this is lighter around the face, which a lot of clients want. They don't want it to feel too heavy on their face, especially if your client had more of a lower hairline. If you left that too heavy, it's just never going to work for them. So yeah, maybe taking that section a little bit further back like this would work there. And then the section through the back, we crept that just kind of thinking about where the thickest part of hair is. Um, and we sort of crept in and sunk in about at that occipital. Yeah. So occipital down, it kind of looked like we're about to cut graduation in the back, but we didn't. What we did is we picked up that hair, we started through the center, lifted that up at the length that we wanted, at the internal short length that we wanted, and the elbow is the length. Cutting it there, over directing everything to the center, so keeping length and width out through the side. We jumped over the middle section into the fringe, and we created the same thing, starting through the center, over directing everything in, over directing everything in. So we've done the back, we've done the fringe. Then what we did is use the exact same technique through the center, but the difference is there was a disconnection. So here's the lengths of the fringe in the back. This one came up. It was disconnected. Okay, so this square layer was disconnected by 1-2 inches. So it sits over the top of the fringe and it sits over the top of the back. You can't tell, and that's what that salon friendly hidden disconnections for. So if I hadn't have done that disconnection, and I picked all that hair up, you can see how much weight I would have left in through the back there. So if your client has really, really, really fine hair and they want a layered haircut like this, maybe you don't need to do that underneath section. Maybe you go straight into that square layer through the top. So you've got to think about, don't just put haircuts on people because you think they look cool. You've got to think about where I need the technique. Do I need to remove weight under here? Yeah, so make sure that's key as well. Suitability for your client. We came then through and we added some leave-in treatment just to hydrate, and then we put a bit of body crafter in through that, which works quite well just to add a bit more texture and grit to it. And we wrap dried so that we can really see how this is sitting in its natural form. No tonging or anything like that. We came through with that paddle brush and bent the hair a little bit, so it's really is actually kind of a true form of what you would get with this haircut. There was no fancy styling. Yeah, mainly just with my hands in through here. But yeah, that's our demo for the day on Charlotte. Who knows what the hell they're going to ask for next? Very, very fussy client. Maybe we're going to end up shaving this one's head, but we'll see. But yeah, that's today's demo. I hope everyone has benefited from that. Any feedback as well. Feedback is the breakfast of champions. Give it to me. Find me on Instagram as well. Big thank you to everyone at Bieber Academy for all the amazing work that you're all doing online. All the teachers, you're amazing, and our beautiful students. Yeah, stay engaged. And yeah, have a great day. Bye.